Hi, the second question I want to address this week was why do so many people drop out of MOOC courses? And this was asked by I think Lottie again. And in answering this, I also want to relate some of the statistics on the course because many of you keep asking about it. Lottie's question was, why do you think the numbers drop off? Does it matter if numbers drop off? To whom? And then how does this affect the legitimacy of MOOCs? And I think you guys did a great job of summarizing the reasons for dropping out. Marivi, Helen, Caroline, Maria, Mirta, Ken, Andlieb, April, Lottie, all of you. I mean, it's hard for me to add to what you said. I mean, I'll just summarize quickly. The courses are free. So you can peruse them and drop out without any cost. I mean, there's no real investment and sunk cost to some degree. It's hard for you to drop out now, perhaps, for those of you that have been participating the whole time, and thank you, by the way. So I think that's some cost, but in terms of a free course, there's no real cost because you haven't invested money and just your time so far. The other thing is that it's all self-motivated. I mean, interest is what guides you here. You don't, there isn't a credential, and if there was even, it would probably be secondary to a lot of you. You have a lot of time constraints, a third kind of reason why drop-offs occur. You have families, jobs, you're doing other things. Like I don't take a MOOC in addition to what I do. I mean, even though this takes me up till midnight most nights. If I had time, I might. But currently, time constraints are such that it's hard for me to even imagine, let alone how you guys do it. A fourth reason that people leave is a lack of connection. And there's a sense of isolated learning, that there's too many posts. You don't have a personal relationship or dialogue with me, per se. So it's kind of hard to sustain your motivation, that your motivation isn't just intrinsic, that it's supported by social relationships of like with me or with TAs or with each other that you may not feel online. However, I kind of, from reading the forums, I do feel like some of you do have relationships with each other. And yes, I do read your posts, and I do laugh at the requests or questions of whether I'm paying attention or not. I do that. It's just hard to reply to everything. But hopefully, and that's the size issue that we talked about of this platform. But hopefully you guys are forming relationships, and I think that's kind of true. Whether they extend afterward, I doubt, but perhaps in some of the cases. A fifth reason that you might leave is that you have inaccurate expectations, that your expectations are different from reality, and it's hard to convey all that. So in terms of the course content, for example, that I didn't use enough business cases perhaps for some, and we'll work on that, or international cases, again, we'll work on that. Might have been difficult. I tried to make this as close as I could to the course I teach here at Stanford. I tried to really see how far I could take it by offering you the best quality material I could, and that might have raised the difficulty and the time commitment. That they're long lectures, right? And it's not always the easiest material. Also, I do know that I read or had a teleprompter on some of these, and it's mostly, and that might not made it as easy to connect, but that was mostly because I realized for most of you out there that this is the only text you will have, and my ramblings on the screenside chat, as personable as they may be, are not efficient as a script, and particularly in class when I talk with the students, I do notice that I come at things 20 different ways, and I misstate things, and if this was your only text, it seems like an efficient lecture that conveyed that would be good to have a base, and then from there, that's have the discussions and the screenside chats. So that was the argument. I don't know if it worked effectively. Hopefully you'll let me know. But that was the reasoning that many of you could not afford the text. But that also led to greater difficulty, perhaps. Now, another thing was cognitive load or skill mismatch or language challenges. And I know many of you, English is a second language. So this is a challenge just taking a course. Now over time we're hoping that the forum sections will have different languages or translation will be readily done, or that the lectures will have subtitles in different languages. So I'm hoping that will happen, and that will facilitate some of this for a lot of you. Another thing is the online learning does require an adjustment in terms of learning technology. If my students here in the flip class are any indication, they had to go to Chrome from Safari. They had all kinds of issues of coming on the system at times. And not everybody's equally tech savvy. So I think getting used to that environment, figuring out how to use it. The first week on the forum is always a wash as people just figure out how to use it. So people will jump in on a lecture discussion and say, "Hi, I'm from Kansas. How are you doing?" So those things happen where you're just trying to figure it out, and that might lead to people feeling, like it's too hard or reasons to leave. An eighth reason is use value, and I think relevance, and a lot of you remarked on whether this appealed to you, and it got, this week of course was a little more theoretical, and that might turn people off because it loses use value or relevance. Now, another one is the final one, ninth one that I read, was the immediate feedback challenge. Neil mentions this, and I think that's also true. There's something about the asynchronous nature that makes it difficult. When it's more synchronous, where you can ask questions as they go, creates a sense of relating to each other in the process of relating to the material. So that said, I think also other courses may be of different contents or topics. This course is, I think, pretty serious relative to the ones I saw. It's a longer course. It's 10 weeks or 11 weeks even. And that's just different. We tried to go for a different type of course to see how far we could push the MOOC model, if it could adopt some of the features of a real class. And so that's why we did a lot of things. Now, do the numbers drop off? Of course they do. The course itself that we have is about 42,604 people right now. And of the people that are active in the last week, mind you, we've had a week off and whatnot, it's about around 4,600 or maybe 5,000 people, so 11 to 14% are active in week 9. And that's pretty good, I think. I mean, most of the courses get down to 10 or below, 10%. Now, I did see other classes that are larger. They have, shorter courses, more, maybe more interesting topics in some sense that are sexy or fun, and they have a little more active users. But when I start to dig into the number of lectures you've downloaded or streamed, the number of quizzes you've taken, the number of forums that you've posted, threads, and commented on, a number of peer assessments, I compared us to a class of 62,000, or much larger than ours by 20,000, and we blow them away in terms of how active you are as a group. So we've had probably, in terms of streaming views of videos, over 600,000 views, whereas a course of 61,000 might have 200,000 views, or 3. And then, so at least, and not only 54% of the 42,000 in our course have actually viewed the videos at some point. So that's kind of unique users. That's large. The number of quizzes you submitted, the total in video and standalone is around 25,000 quizzes. That's users. I'm sorry, unique users. So that's 58% of the course has submitted a quiz. And you've submitted over 715,000 quiz answers, or quizzes, separate quizzes. And mind you, again, for the class of 60,000 I'm comparing to that I had access to briefly, that's very popular and a great class, I don't want to mention it by name, it had around 286,000 videos submitted and only about 24,000 unique users. So it's much lower percentages of activity. I think it was partly because we demanded or expected it. But then in terms of discussion forum threads, we had 4,000 threads, 20,000 posts, 8,000 comments, 293,000 views, 60,000 votes. This other class of 60,000 had only 1,800 threads, uh, 11,000 posts, 10,000 comments, 99,000 views, and only 7,400 votes. So it's very different. And then on the peer assessment part, you guys we had 2,731 of you actually submit assessments or go into the system. Now, when it came to the actual papers, this was the biggest surprise to me. I mean, a lot of you, I'd say almost all of you are the basic track or casually perusing from interest. And it turns out that we only have like 260 papers submitted out of the whole group. So it was a surprise to a lot of us that for some reason we thought there were more out there that were wanting to take a real class, but I don't know if that's true actually now. Some of you are. So we're thinking about next year of adding a general track in between the basic and the advanced, where the answers are more like forum posts and we peer evaluate those. They're paragraphs as opposed to whole papers. And part of me is thinking, well, maybe the knowledge consumption and practices out there have changed away from these long papers of developed arguments to short, succinct bites. And maybe that's how we consume knowledge on a MOOC and possibly would be of value to quite a few people. I don't know. I'm open to all of this. And we'll try it out. Does this affect my legitimacy or the legitimacy of MOOCs, or even does it matter for me if there's a lot of drop-off? Yes. It matters because I feel bad. It's my pride. We've tried very hard to afford a quality course, and so we'd like to do a good job, and we'd like to make a contribution out there. So that's our goal. And if everybody left and hated it, of course that would be a downer. Now, in terms of does the drop-off affect the legitimacy of MOOCs, I don't think so. I think it's just a sign of how people use them. I don't think it's necessarily whether you get the credential, the credit, the certificate that we have at the end of the course or not. It's not really that substantive in terms of whether it was checked and whether employers regard it. It's nice to get some kind of recognition. Down the road, it'd be neat to make it a credential that's validated externally, but for now it's not that clear what the value is. So I think MOOCs with lots of drop-off still give huge access to people out there, even if it's a casual reader and what have you. I think too that what we've done is create some moral legitimacy for the private institution I'm at in terms of affording knowledge well beyond these hallowed walls to a public and a larger public than we could otherwise. So I think it does bring legitimacy to us to have a large set of people out there taking our classes, and finding value in it is key. I mean, if you didn't find value in it, that to me would be a sign I need to adapt and up my game. And so that's why we're very interested in your feedback and kind of learning from this. So that's another long-winded response, and I apologize, but hopefully it's worth it and worth your time. So thank you, and I'll go on to the next question.